The wind howled a mournful dirge through the skeletal branches of the ancient oaks surrounding the secluded cabin. Rain lashed against the rotting wood, each drop a tiny hammer blow against the already fragile structure. Inside, the flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows, highlighting the anxious faces of Mia, Jake, Kelly, Ash Williams's long-lost niece, and David, a brooding, skeptical film student documenting their ill-advised weekend getaway. They hadn't meant to stumble upon the cabin. Their GPS had malfunctioned, leading them down a treacherous, muddy track that seemed to swallow the light. The cabin itself was a derelict horror, a testament to years of neglect and decay. Yet, something about its unsettling stillness, its palpable sense of wrongness, had drawn them in. Inside, they found the usual detritus of abandoned places, rusted tools, cobweb-draped furniture, and a disturbingly intact collection of ancient books bound in cracked leather. Jake, ever the thrill-seeker, had been the first to discover the basement. A rickety wooden staircase groaned under his weight as he descended. Into the damp, earthy darkness, the air hung heavy with the scent of mildew and something else. Something acrid and unsettling, like burnt flesh. A single lantern illuminated a small, dirt-floored room. In the center lay a rough-hewn wooden crate, its surface etched with indecipherable symbols. Curiosity overriding caution, Jake pried it open. Inside, nestled amongst layers of decaying cloth, was the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the infamous Book of the Dead, bound in human skin. Its pages filled with cryptic script, the book pulsed with a faint, malevolent energy. Ignoring Kelly's pleas to leave it alone, Jake, fueled by a reckless bravado, began to read aloud from its pages. The words, ancient and guttural, slithered from his lips like venomous snakes. The cabin shuddered, the wind outside intensified, its mournful cry becoming a shriek. The shadows deepened, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. The air crackled with unseen energy. David, his camera rolling, captured the scene with a shaky hand, his professional detachment crumbling under the mounting terror. Mia, a seasoned horror movie aficionado, recognized the signs immediately. This wasn't just an old book. It was a gateway to something ancient and evil, but it was too late. The incantations had unleashed something unspeakable. The first sign was the unsettling sounds. A low, guttural groaning emanated from the darkness beyond the lantern's reach, followed by the sickening scrape of nails against wood. Then came the whispers, insidious and hypnotic, weaving their way into their minds, planting seeds of fear and paranoia. They argued, accusing each other of playing tricks, of making things up. The whispers capitalized on their anxieties, turning friend against friend. The attacks began subtly. Kelly, while fetching water, was attacked by unseen claws that tore at her clothes, leaving long, bloody scratches across her back. David, overwhelmed by the mounting dread, collapsed, his camera clattering to the floor, his mind fracturing under the relentless psychic assault. Jake, his initial excitement replaced by a chilling dread, tried to rationalize the events, but his attempts were met with escalating manifestations of the evil. The dead rose. First, a single figure, shambling from the shadows of the basement, a grotesque parody of a human being, its skin flayed and rotting, its eyes empty sockets filled with an unholy light. It moved with unnatural speed and agility, its decaying flesh dripping with an ichor that smelled of decay and death. The creature attacked Jake, its decaying claws tearing at his flesh. His screams echoed through the cabin, a desperate plea for help that was quickly drowned out by the growing cacophony of the rising dead. More emerged from the darkness, their groans and snarls growing louder, their movements more frenzied. Mia, armed with whatever she could find, a broken chair leg, a fireplace poker, fought back with a ferocity that surprised even herself. She was a survivor, and she would not go down without a fight. But she was outnumbered, outmatched, and the evil was spreading, infecting everything it touched. The cabin became a battleground. The flickering candlelight danced across the carnage as Mia fought desperately against The growing horde of the undead, David, momentarily regaining his senses, managed to use his camera's flash to momentarily stun the creatures, buying me a precious seconds. Kelly, her earlier fear replaced by a primal survival instinct, found a rusty axe, her clumsy swings surprisingly effective in the chaos. The evil, however, was relentless. It seeped into the very fabric of the cabin, twisting and corrupting everything in its path. The floorboards groaned under the weight of the undead, the walls pulsed with unnatural energy, and the air grew thick with the stench of death. Just as all hope seemed lost, a battered pickup truck screeched to a halt outside the cabin. From it emerged Ash Williams, his face weathered, his eyes filled with a grim determination. He was a veteran of countless battles against the dead, and he recognized the unholy energy emanating from the cabin immediately. His trusty boomstick, never far from his side, was already raised. Ash's arrival was a beacon of hope in the suffocating darkness. He moved through the carnage with a grim efficiency, his boomstick spitting lead and blasting the undead back into the shadows. He knew the Necronomicon, knew its power, and knew the ritual needed to banish the evil. The fight was brutal, exhausting, and bloody. The cabin was ravaged, the furniture destroyed, the walls riddled with bullet holes. The undead were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless, but Ash and his unlikely allies fought on, their determination fueled by desperation and the sheer will to survive. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they found a way to destroy the Necronomicon. Ash, recalling ancient lore learned through bitter experience, used a combination of blessed holy water, a strategically placed chainsaw, and a well-aimed shot from his boomstick to reduce the book to ashes. As the last pages burned, the evil retreated, the undead collapsing into inert heaps of rotting flesh. The whispers ceased, the groans faded, and the oppressive atmosphere began to lift. The storm outside subsided, the wind dying down to a gentle breeze. The sunrise painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, bathing the battered cabin in a soft, hopeful light. The aftermath was devastating. The cabin was a wreck, and the survivors were scarred, both physically and mentally. But they had survived, they had faced the evil dead, and they had won. As the police arrived, sirens wailing in the distance, Ash surveyed the scene. He knew this wasn't over. The evil might be banished for now, but the Book of the Dead was a cursed artifact. There would be others, other unsuspecting souls who would stumble upon its power. Ash knew he would be needed again. He was, after all, the man who would face the evil dead, time and time again. He gave me a weary smile, a silent promise, a shared understanding that the fight was never truly over, only paused. The chainsaw hummed softly in his hand, a quiet assurance against the darkness to come. He looked towards the rising sun, the light a stark contrast to the horrors he had just faced, but knowing that the shadows always lurked just around the corner, waiting for their chance to return. The fight, he knew, was far from over. The evil dead would always find a way back.